Hello, my name is Kylie Kazmarek, and I did my mass media project on syndication. So this is a picture of me, my dog, and I'm actually on the women's soccer team here at Siena Heights. So the first question is, what is syndication? According to our book, syndication is leasing TV stations of cable networks the exclusive right to TV shows, or in other words, television shows being shown on a different network than the one that first showed the program. So, an example of this would be a TV show first being released on CBS, and after the first couple seasons or even first couple episodes, the show will give other cable networks the right to also show that show on their network. So, CBS could then give the rights away to, say, ABC Family or NBC. So, according to the book, there are two types of syndication. The first type is off network syndication, or reruns. And this is a program, or when a program builds up a series of episodes, usually about 4 seasons, and releases them to hundreds of TV stations, cable networks, or DPS providers. A good example of this is the TV show series of Friends, and Friends is super duper popular. So, Friends earned an average of $4 million per episode from syndication in 250 plus markets, plus cable totaling $1 billion. So, the show's success means that the original production costs were already covered, so the syndication market was almost pure profit. So, in other words, the original releasing of the show, while the series was still live, it covered all the costs, like the set costs and the co-star and the stars, paying the stars. All the costs were already covered. So by rerunning the show, and the syndication allowed the show to earn even more money on top of their success during the seasons. And right over here, I have a funny quote I found from Friends, and it was, I'm not great at the advice. Can I interest you in a sarcastic comment? So the second type of syndication is first run, and this relates to any program specifically produced for sale into syndication markets. So two good examples that I looked up were The Ellen Show and The Dr. Phil Show. The Ellen Show earns more than $50 million per year from her telepictures deal, including 60% of advertising, carrying fee, and product placement products. So the Ellen Show is basically, you have the host Ellen, and she invites celebrities or popular people on the internet to come to her show and talk to her, and sometimes she'll bring up scandals or kind of uncomfortable talks, and she can usually give gifts to the audience, which is super fun, or she can do fun things like scare the member she brings on set or do some funny dances or whatever. So Ellen's pretty cool. So the next show is the Dr. Phil Show, and Dr. Phil earns $95 million a year and is one of the wealthiest daytime talk show hosts in the country. And Dr. Phil is basically a show where Dr. Phil kind of acts like a psychiatrist slash therapist slash judge in family problems. So one super popular girl that was on the show years back was Bad. She calls herself Bad Barbie now, and she actually got super popular from this Dr. Phil show. And these Dr. Phil show is not specifically run on one cable network, and that is why it is called the first run, because it is released through multiple networks and not just one network. So the bigger question is, how does syndication work? So the process is easy. So first, the show is ran through one network. So an example would be Fox's broadcast during the Super Bowl of Family Guy. So Family Guy was actually first shown through Fox's broadcast during the Super Bowl. Second step is the show is released to other networks to be run. So the example of Family Guy can now be watched on Netflix, Hulu, Disney Channels, FXX, and ABC Family. The third step is the other networks can replay season/episode of said shows. So an example of catching a random episode of Family Guy and ABC Family, just a random episode like episode 5 of season 3 or episode 1 of season 1, and this is usually kind of random. They don't usually go in order. So why is it important to the television business? So the most important thing is if we're talking about reruns is a show can be rerun. Like I talked about Friends before, a series can be rerun for years to come after it ends. Now, why would this matter? Well, this matters because these shows are able to have more profitability, which means more cash, because there are more views. Since the show is being rerun over and over again, that means that viewers are watching it over and over again. Next, I'm going to talk about the top syndicated TV shows. So the first show I have is Judge Judy. And Judge Judy is an American reality court show presided over by Judy Shinland. And this is a small claim. She settles small claim disputes with a simulated courtroom. So these are real claims, like disputes that had happened in the past, but this is kind of a reenactment. And the people that you see in the show that are in the stands or in the background aren't actually real. They're actors, they're paid actors. So it's technically not a real show, but there are real cases, and it's really fun to watch. So Judge Judy actually earns $900,000 per working day, and that means she gets $47 million a year with only 52 days of filming a year. And the show is actually going to be retired or canceled in 2021. So it has been running for a very, very long time. She also has 10.7 million viewers for the show. So Judge Judy is a very popular woman with a very popular show. So the next show I'm going to talk about is The Wheel of Fortune. Now, I've watched maybe an episode of The Wheel of Fortune. I feel like everyone knows what it is, but I just don't feel like everyone maybe watches it in my generation personally, but it is one of the top syndicated TV shows. So this is a game show created by Merv Griffin that debuted in 1975. And the objective is for contestants to solve a word puzzle like Hangman to win cash prizes by spinning a wheel. Now, this game isn't Hangman, but it is like Hangman. So contestants will guess the word or the phrase, and instead of every time guessing wrong and getting like a head or an arm for Hangman, if they guess the sentence right, they have the opportunity to spin the Wheel of Fortune, which usually has cash prizes. So Merv actually earns $15 million a year, and he films 35 times or 35 days a year, which means that 15 million divided by 365, that means that he earns $41,096 a day the whole year, or $428,571 per working day. So he gets that every day, 35 times basically. So the last show I'm going to talk about, probably one of my favorites that I really wanted to include, is The Big Bang Theory. And this show makes $10 million by reruns per year alone, which is a ton of money. And this show is a comedy about two brilliant physicists, Sheldon and Leonard, who have no social skills. So they're supposed to be super smart physicists in this show, and Sheldon is portraying this super smart brainiac guy who loves Star Trek and has no clue what to do with women. While Sheldon, on the other hand, actually has a really big crush on Penny in the beginning of season 1, who moves in next door to them, kind of like across from their apartment. And it's just supposed to be a comedy show that portrays these two brainiacs trying to fit in with society. So a couple fun facts about the show that I wanted to share that I thought were interesting was Mayim Bialik, sorry if I butchered her name, or in this case, she plays Amy Farrah Fowler, is the only PhD in the cast who earned a doctorate in neuroscience at UCLA in 2007. So all of the math and all of the, I guess, super smart nonsense that Sheldon and Leonard or Leo spout on the TV show, they actually run it by her to make sure everything is correct and what they're saying is actually true, which I thought was really interesting. So she's a very smart woman. And then Jim Parsons, or in this case Sheldon, has never seen Star Trek, which is absolutely crazy because his whole character trait through the whole seasons and all the shows is he's just obsessed with Star Trek and he just loves it so much. So to recap, syndication was one of the best ways for shows to still earn money after their original releases. We also talked about how it works, so the 3 steps of how it works with either reruns or first run and reruns, just to recap and go over. They're basically shows that have already filmed seasons on one specific network, and then they release it to these other networks for more views. While first run is the series, while they're filming, they release it right away to other networks. So season 1, episode 1 of a new show is going to be released to everyone instead of like reruns where they wait and record and produce, say, seasons 1 through 4, and then they release them to other networks. So we also talked about the top syndicated shows like Judge Judy, Wheel of Fortune, and my favorite, The Big Bang Theory. So here are my credits, and thank you so much for watching.